Ozzy Osbourne and a spiritual journey through music. Hey friend, have you ever felt like some pains in life can't be healed by light, but only understood when we dare to step into the darkness? Today, I want to tell you about a band, not just famous for their heavy sound, but for how they walked through darkness to find a different kind of light, a light that comes from within. That band is Black Sabbath, the legendary group from a small town called Aston in Birmingham, England. And their strange, unforgettable frontman, Ozzy Osbourne, isn't just a rock icon. He's become a symbol of spiritual rebirth. Their story is one of healing, of spirituality, but not in the way you might expect. Part 1. It all started from chaos, from blue-collar boys. You know what? Black Sabbath didn't start off as a phenomenon. They were just a bunch of working-class guys living in the gritty smoke of industrial England, with lives that seemed already mapped out for them. Their first name? The Polka Tulk Blues Band. They played blues, had a saxophone, pretty chill, pretty ordinary, but something shifted. Maybe it was the gloom of the poor neighborhoods in Birmingham. Maybe it was the frustration of being young and realizing the world wasn't as lovely as the hippie songs made it seem. So, they changed. First, they called themselves Earth. And then, they picked a name that made the world shiver. Black Sabbath. Part 2. Music as a cultural rebellion. Now picture this. You walk into a dark room. The sound hits you like a storm. But instead of fear, you feel heard. You feel seen. That's what Black Sabbath created. Their music was a rebellion. A bold statement saying, "We don't live in pretty dreams. We live in reality, and reality hurts." They used to rehearse near a horror movie theater, and then came the thought, if people like horror movies, why isn't there horror music? And so songs like Black Sabbath were born, dark, intense. But you know what? It wasn't about worshiping evil, like people often assumed. It was a warning. Be careful of the darkness you invite in. Part 3. Turning Wounds into Art. The story of Tony Iommi. You know what I deeply respect about Black Sabbath? It's how they turned pain into power. Take Tony Iommi, their lead guitarist. He went through a terrible accident. He lost the tips of his fingers. For a guitarist, that's basically the end. Game over. But Tony, he didn't give up. He crafted his own fake fingertips out of plastic, loosened the guitar strings so they'd be easier to press. And from that, he created this deep, detuned, dark sound that would go on to define heavy metal. See? Sometimes, our limitations are actually the starting point of our greatest creativity. It's like healing energy, like spirituality. It's not always this pure white light people imagine. Sometimes it's a crack in the darkness. And that's where the real light breaks through. Part 4. Ozzy Osbourne. Chaos is a kind of wisdom. And then there's Ozzy Osbourne, the frontman, the soul guide of the band. His voice? It sounds like a scream rising from the bottom of a pit. Fierce, but never lost. He's like a madman with the heart of a poet. Wild, but painfully honest. Ozzy's life has been one big storm. Drugs, scandals, destruction. And yet, he became a symbol of freedom. A friend of mine once said, Ozzy made enough wrong turns to teach the rest of us how to go right. In spirituality, There's a concept called sacred darkness. It's the idea that you don't have to run away from the messy, ugly parts of yourself. You look them in the eye, you hold them, and from there, you transform them into light. Ozzy is the living proof of that. And I've shared his story 3 different times in my life with people who were feeling completely lost, because not everyone needs a clean, polished path to walk on. Some of us need a dusty, crooked road, one marked by our own footsteps. Here's your translated text in spoken, heartfelt English, with a natural, reflective tone. Part 5. The Legacy of a Movement. Remember Iron Man or War Pigs, Paranoid? Those weren't just songs. They were like sacred chants of a generation brave enough to face war, pain, and the depths of the human soul. Black Sabbath didn't just play music. They built a world. One where spirituality wasn't about calm meditation, but about the raw, explosive aliveness of the human spirit. Their sound echoed in festivals, in recording studios, on massive stages, and even in the minds of people quietly walking through their own darkness. They opened a door, and through it, generations of artists like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and so many more walked in. So, my friend, when life takes you into a dark place, when you feel lost or out of direction, just remember this. Sometimes healing doesn't come from avoiding the dark. It comes from listening to it. Try listening to a Black Sabbath song. Let Tony's guitar and Ozzy Osbourne's screams hit you. And ask yourself, what part of my own darkness is asking to be heard? Because that's when spirituality truly begins. That's when your energy is touched, not to erase your pain, but to transform it. My name is the Flow of Knowing, just a friend walking beside you on this journey of healing. If this video stirred something inside you, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your story. And always remember, whether you're walking through the light or the dark, you still have the right to come home to yourself. Wishing you peace on your path. See you again in the next videos on healing and spirituality. And hey, never forget, music can be medicine for the soul if you learn how to truly listen.